Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss GPS speed versus wheel speed versus app speed. How do we know which one is correct? And most importantly, how do we know which one is reliable? Now, the other day, I saw a video from a very popular YouTuber whose claim to fame is that if you watch his video, he won't waste more than 15 minutes of your time. But what I saw on that video was nothing short of fascinating. No, it was unbelievable. 70 miles per hour on a Commander GT. But was it all for naught? Was it real? Was that really 70 miles per hour? Let's find out. But to prove how shocked I was, just take a look at my comment that I left in his video. I was reduced to one word. What? Like, I could not believe what I saw. It looked real. But was it? We're about to find out. Now, before we really get into whether or not he actually rode at 70 miles per hour on this Commander GT, let's take a look at the specs. The Extreme Bull GT is fitted with a 4,000 watt C38 motor or a high torque motor, which is good. That gives the rider the ability to thrash this machine with all their might at unbelievable speeds and acceleration, with very little concern for over-torquing the motor. Basically, a very low chance of cutting out. What that should also mean is that at a high rate of speed, say 50 miles an hour, the rider should also be able to suddenly accelerate to an even higher speed, past 50 miles an hour, with almost immediate feedback and gratification rather than gradually doing so. This is because the combination of a powerful torque motor and the higher speed threshold of 125 miles per hour free wheel spin should allow for a higher level of safety when attempting such feats. On paper, the GT is a beast at all levels of speed where sudden acceleration or deceleration is needed. In addition, the 21-inch tire is exactly what you need to feel safe riding at such high speeds. I'm a little concerned with the 3,000 watt-hour battery, but then again, it is rated at 168 volts, meaning that, so far, this is the most safest EUC on the road, seeing that the power delivery is directly proportional to the voltage. This is exactly why the GT is able to accomplish this high speed in the first place. Well, safely, that is. Nevertheless, with all that said, we still have some proving to do. Let's do this proving right now. We're going to compare wheel speed with GPS speed, as well as the radar speed. Now, here's some GPS research, guys. Now, according to HUDway, it's a blog, about GPS, speedometer readings often show higher speeds due to tire size and legal mandates, introducing a consistent positive bias. The OBD2 system, reading directly from the vehicle's sensors, can have up to 5% error, influenced by sensor accuracy and vehicle dynamics. Now, the GPS speed is derived from potential changes over time using satellite data, with errors potentially introduced by factors like signal obstruction or atmospheric conditions. Mathematically, GPS speed, which is V equals D over T, where D is displacement and T is time, typically GPS offers greater accuracy due to its reliance on precise temporal and spatial measurements. So, what effect does this have on an EUC speed, you might ask, right? Well, have you ever felt that your 16-inch wheel was a lot more nimbler and the sensation of the speed was a bit faster, even though you were moving just about 35 miles per hour or even slower sometimes? But when you move up to a much bigger wheel, that same 35 mile per hour felt almost snail pace. Speed perception on a 16-inch electric unicycle at 35 miles per hour differs significantly from an EUC with a 21-inch tire, for example. Now, this is due to several factors, The first is wheel circumference, stability, acceleration and deceleration, and finally, ride height. Wheel circumference. A 21-inch wheel, for example, tire covers more ground per rotation, leading to a smoother ride and potentially less intensive vibrations. Stability. Larger wheels offer greater stability, reducing the feeling of speed and making the ride feel more controlled. Acceleration and deceleration. Smaller wheels accelerate and decelerate quicker, making the speed feel more immediate and intense. Now, ride height. The higher ride height of a 21-inch wheel increases the rider's center of balance, affecting the sensation of speed. Now, putting all this together, these factors combine to make a 35 mile per hour speed feel faster and more thrilling on a smaller 16-inch tire compared to a 21-inch tire. But it's not just about speed perception, guys. We also have to take into account just how the speed is calculated by EUCs, or by cars in general. Now, the speed of an electric unicycle is typically calculated based on rotational speed of the motor, where that information is basically translated into linear speed. The motor's rotational speed is measured in revolutions per minute, or RPM. This data is provided by sensors within the motor and or controller. Now, the diameter of the wheel is a very crucial factor in determining this linear speed. The larger the wheel, the more distance is covered per revolution. The circumference of the wheel in inches, it can be calculated with this formula. Circumference equals pi times the diameter of the wheel. So if we were to calculate the speed, that would be speed equals the RPM times the circumference of the wheel. So for a wheel that's 20 inches, for example, and a motor speed of 500 RPM, the speed will be approximately circumference equals pi times the diameter of the wheel, or 20 equals 62 inches, and we'll convert that to miles per hour, which is 29.7 miles per hour. But this speed would be completely different with a much smaller diameter wheel, which is 16 inches at the same RPM, with a lot more excitement probably. So as we stated, the electric unicycle would have approximately a speed of 29.7 miles per hour at 500 RPM with a wheel diameter of 20 inches. Now, that's the hard facts on paper. I say paper because unlike EUCs, automobiles are regulated by powerful governments, and their speed better be correct. From the factory, that is. Now, I think I can make the assumption, however, that EUCs are not as well regulated at the moment. So there's potential wiggle room for some shady practices. But it's not like EUCs are going to take over the world of personal transportation anytime soon anyway, which is a good thing, because whether shady practices exist or not, it will only be regulated to a small niche space, albeit with a few unhappy customers. So now we have here the Begode app and the Begode EX30 LCD screen display. So here we go. I did try this though earlier with the Speedlog app, and it was off by about 7 miles per hour, and I couldn't find a speed correction feature in the app, so I decided to opt for the Begode app, which is a lot more accurate when it comes to being in sync with the EX30. So here we go. We just do a comparison here. 5 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles. See, so it's very accurate when it comes to the Begode app. A little faster, 25, 28, 29, so it's very in sync. Okay, so now we're gonna try with the GPS speedometer app. 10 million downloads for this app, so million translates to reliability in my head. All right, so let's go. This is a GPS app. It's very clear skies, okay? Well, not really, it's not really too clear. All right, 8 miles on the GPS, so it's about 2 to 3 miles per hour off. Let's go a little faster. Let's see, 16, 12 miles an hour. Let's try to maintain that. So it's fluctuating between 1 to 2 miles per hour an hour, maybe 2 to 3 miles an hour. Let's see, 15, 13, so 15 is 13. That's weird. It could be a delay too. Go a little faster. 17, 19, 20 on the GPS, 24 on the wheel. So it looks like there's a small delay on the GPS, about 2 to 3 miles per hour. It seems like in order to get a very good reading with the GPS, the wheel needs to be moving at a constant rate without too many changes. There's a radar right here, right there, that's a radar. Maintain a speed, so the speed of the wheel is 23 miles an hour, 21, 22, 23. GPS is 17, radar is 17. Whoa, that's interesting. The radar, and the wheel speed is 21. So it looks like the radar and the GPS speed are accurate. So the GPS speed and the radar speed are exactly the same, whereas this one is off by about 2 miles an hour. So far it's not totally off, maybe 2 to 3 miles per hour off from the GPS and the radar. GPS speed is accurate. How do I know this? Because this street detector speed is well calibrated. I believe it was designed by cops for cops. That's the tagline. And the wheel speed appears to be at least 2 to 3 miles slower. So one thing I'm gonna do now is hop into my car and we're gonna compare the car speed with the GPS speed. Go to 20 and stick there. 20 roughly. Everything is accurate. 20, 21, 21. It's pretty much accurate. For sure, for certain, the GPS is reliable because of the comparison with the radar speed. All right, now you might ask, why is this important, right? It's important, guys. It's important to know that the specs that is stated is the specs we're getting, and we're getting what we're paying for. We're not being tricked. It looks like there's a little bit of trickery, just a tiny bit. Nothing to be worried about, because even though it is off by like 4 miles an hour, you could just say he did, instead of 70, he probably did, I don't know, 66 miles an hour, which is pretty significant if you think about it. Now, some apps do have the speed correction thing, but that's irrelevant if your electronics is registering the wrong speed. You see what I'm saying? So your speed correction is going to be useless if your wheel itself is wrong. You understand? So I had to include the car as another baseline, because I know for sure that there are laws in place that regulate how fast a car should go based on a number of factors. So just to have some more accuracy and more testing, we're going to test this out with the high-speed MSB, which is a much older wheel, much older firmware. I don't remember upgrading this thing, so we're gonna see how accurate this is compared to that one. Oh, the cool thing about Android is that it lets you have apps running simultaneously. So I have the wheel log app at the top and I have the GPS at the bottom, which makes it easy for me to record. Awesome. This wheel is amazing. 20, 19. We're maintaining a speed now, not accelerating. That's beautiful, man. I like how this GPS is so on point with the radar. When you compare the GPS speed with the wheel log speed, it seems like there's a small delay for the GPS to catch up to the actual speed that's being displayed. So, I don't think in that sense GPS is reliable, because if you were to find your speed at any instance in time, it looks like the GPS will have to wait to catch up to your speed. That's what I'm realizing. Whereas the radar, the wheel speed is very immediate. So I'm not sure what to make out of that, but other than the fact that it is a GPS signal. I don't believe in GPS, I'm just using that word for, you know, the video. I think it's something else. It's telemetry. Telemetry. I think that's what they're using, triangulation and all that stuff, off of towers and stuff, but there is a delay, nevertheless. So what's the conclusion here? Well, the conclusion is that if you were to monitor your speed over a long stretch and you really need accuracy, I would say the GPS speed is very accurate. If you were to do hard accelerations for very short distances and slowing down and turning and going under trees and climbing massive hills and taking real deep slopes, you know, like downhill, etc., I don't think GPS is reliable at all, because it takes time to catch up to what you're doing. GPS speed is reliable in a straight line with minor turns and not too much variation in the speed you're doing. So if you're doing 20 miles an hour, you maintain that 20 miles an hour. Because here's the thing, right? Let's say, for example, you have this pole and then you have that pole. From this pole, all right, point 1 to point 2, if you're relying on GPS speed to go from this point to that point, that's going to be really difficult. Because from this point to that point, you need to be consistent. You can't be accelerating, slowing down, turning. You can't be doing any of that, because then that information becomes unusable. But if you're going from point A to point B and you're consistent, then yes, you can rely on that speed. That's the gist of GPS speed. So the next time someone says, oh, was it GPS speed or was it wheel speed or was it app speed? Well, you have to take the answer with a grain of salt, because you have to also ask, what were they doing? Were they going straight consistently? Enough? Variation for GPS in a short distance is bad. Okay? Consistency over a long distance for GPS is good. So overall, I would have to rely on the speed of the wheel itself via the app and via the display, but I would also have to take into account the difference, okay? The difference in speed when compared to like a radar, for example. So if I were to truly calibrate my speed on my wheel, I would go on a straight piece of road like this, head up to a radar. If I'm doing 20 miles an hour and the radar says 15, then I would subtract, because I don't think we're able to change the speed display on the EX30 or any other wheel. If we can, that'd be great. Let me know how you do that. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to subtract that speed. So for now, there's about a 3 to 4 miles an hour difference than the actual speed. So if I'm doing 20, I'm actually doing 16. Terrible. Anyway, that's what it seems like. Let's go. Who won? Did you win or I won? Which speed did you use? GPS speed or speedometer speed? I need to know.